Alrighty, hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we received the new beta 1.5.9 patch and the 1.5.8 move to live. This patch is 3.66 gigabytes and has some very good changes and very good additions in my opinion. The link to this new beta patch will be down below like always, and like always I have a script. Everything I say, all links that are stated are going to be down below in the description for you to read along or read after, whatever you wish to do. In this video, I'll go over all the important changes. The minor changes and fixes will be on the screen as the video goes on, and you can pause the video to see the changes, or you can follow the link in the description below for more information on the new beta. So we're going to get into the changes. We're going to do single player first, then multiplayer, and then both, which, obviously put single player and multiplayer together. Alrighty, so single player first. First, we have, like always, a lot of single player crash fixes. They're on the screen right now if you wish to check them out. Next, we have text has been completely redone in almost all areas in the game, and now it's pretty much thicker and it stands out more. It has like a little drop shadow behind it as well in some certain scenarios, so it looks a lot better, and certain stuff sticks out a lot better, like your income, parties on the screen, and stuff of that nature. Next, they added two new items: the decorated thick tunic and the reinforced neck guard. They look kind of I wouldn't say out of place. It kind of gives me kind of like a Robin Hood vibe to them, but yeah, they are definitely unique. Next, we have this inventory animation refactoring has been completed. Characters no longer reset their animations when a new item is equipped. So characters will pretty much, they will act a little bit better when it comes to their animations whenever items are equipped. Good to see. Then we have the party screen now shows influence, horse, and morale change on top of gold change. Influence gain shows up while donating troops, horse change shows up while upgrading troops, and morale change shows up while recruiting prisoners. This is usually located right below the player whenever any of these things are actually done. And players are now able to see exactly how much currency they will gain or lose when they close a screen with the done button. So just more information. Very good to see. So you can kind of learn exactly how your choices actually impact the game. So good addition. Then they've implemented a new system for UI screen initialization and execution. This change improves performance and memory usage. Good. It's a back-end change, but it's good to see. Then they also added a color switcher button to the banner editor. So if you press B while in game, you can bring up your banner editor, and this button will pretty much swap the two colors from the background to the foreground and vice versa. Then they added a new issue solved by hero notification to settlement events, notifications above the settlement nameplates, to inform the player about the actions that AI lords are taking when entering a settlement. This is the same thing when caravans enter a settlement. Right above where the settlement name is, it says what the caravan traded. Villagers pop up there as well, and also whenever AI lords recruit troops and also donate prisoners, you see that. Now it will also include a specific thing called, they finished or issue solved by this hero, which pretty much means they did a quest in that settlement. Then they added a warning, like a red color change to the map info bar party size label. So right on the right hand corner, all the way down there with all those icons, it's going to turn red whenever the main party is over the party limit, just to give you guys kind of like a heads up whenever you guys are over the party limit. Then they added the ransom broker to the mission name markers. What this pretty much means is when you hold the alt key in taverns, now you will see exactly where the ransom broker is at. Cool little change. Good to see. Then they also added map notifications for gain traits. So these will show up on the bottom left where pretty much you have that like little feed of stuff that always gets shown. Like if a lord dies, if this, and that happens. Now, whenever you do gain a trait, you will actually see it down there as well. So keep an eye out down there. It's also where your income comes in every single day. Next we have is some minor bug fixes to the UI. You can pause if you need to. It's on the screen right now. Next we have is killing a lord on the battlefield will no longer trigger relationship penalties. This is a very good thing to see. We've talked about this for a while on the on the forums, and it's a good change overall, and it makes sense. Next we have a spectator/ghost camera mode in missions now considers scrolling through most important characters first, such as generals, lords, and companions. What does this mean? Whenever you go down You obviously have the option to speed the battle up, end the battle, and also you have the option to watch it. You can either watch it in the free camera or you can watch it as a specific character. Before this change, it would just go to just random troops and stuff like that, and sometimes it would jump onto an AI lord. Now it will prioritize the lords first before going to the troops if there's no lords on the map or in the battle. So I think this is very good, and this was talked about in their development video as well. Next, we have is fix a prosperity bug and pillaging bug that would cause wrong amounts of prosperity to be lost when you siege, and also AI choosing the wrong options when given the choice of what pillaging option they want to choose. They would choose the wrong one because they would have different calculations. Those are now fixed. Next, we have is parties with a high wounded ratio now visit settlements more often to reduce the risk of being caught by enemies. This was talked about on the forums, and it's a good thing to be added. It makes sense. So now AI lords will be a lot more, smarter when it comes to their wounded ratio, and they will heal up, and you will be seeing a lot more healed up parties, and it'll be a lot harder for them to actually kind of like starve, like, and just how they used to always just like go out really far into the map and like just starve themselves out, because they wouldn't account to how many people are getting wounded. Now, when they start seeing people get wounded, they will go visit that settlement, so that issue should be in a good area now. Next we have is Sandbox mode has been added to the game. So what this means is there's a couple things. So weight and build sliders have been added to both Sandbox and the campaign mode. So whenever you start a new game, there are weight and build sliders that you can mess around with. Next, we have a Sandbox mode allows players to choose a starting age group. So this is a little bit different than the character creation thing. I can't really explain it, but it's on the screen right now. It was shown off during the development blog. It pretty much, you pick an age, and it shows you how much skill points you have if you pick a certain age, and then you pick the skill points that way. It's a little bit different of a system. It's meant to be a little bit different than the original campaign mode, so good to see a little bit of a difference. And the biggest thing about this that I really like is Sandbox starting positions on the world map are determined by the selected character culture. So depending on what culture you select, you will spawn on that side of the map. If you pick the Khazaits, you will spawn on the Khazait side of the map. If you pick the Vlandians, you will spawn on the Vlandian side of the map. No more spawning in that one training grounds. So that's very good. And also, I will be doing a Sandbox playthrough starting today. Probably first episode either uploaded tonight or tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Next we have is pick them off the walls and make them pay. Tactic perks have been implemented. So this is a whole new 2 perks that have been added. Very good to see. They're on the screen right now if you want to go check them out. Next we have is crafting stamina and stamina recovery rate now scales with the smithing skill. So now pretty much this will make it so smithing is actually a bigger grind now to get to the top. Plus, if you just start out, your stamina is very, very low, and your stamina recovery rate is not a day now. It actually takes a little bit longer. So, good to actually see. I think this is actually a good change to smithing. Next, I have his leadership skill effect on morale has been decreased drastically, and now is only 0.1 morale per leadership level. Before it was something along the lines of like 1 or 2, something like that, but it has been decreased drastically, and this was talked about on the forums and in my video, so it is a change we were looking to see. Now, there are a couple of perks that have been changed. They are on the screen right now if you do wish to pause. These are kind of minor changes to minor perks, therefore I don't want to just go over all of them, but there are a couple of them. You can pause right now if you wish. Next we have is dungeon prisoners are now bardable along with prisoners in the party. So this is an interesting one. I do like the concept of it. If you have prisoners in your dungeon, I'm almost 100% sure that it has to be your dungeon. It can't be like if you're the ruler and it's in a dungeon of a different AI lord that's under you. I don't think you can touch those. I think it has to be your fief. But if they are in that dungeon, your fief dungeon, and you get into a bartering situation for truce or anything that you would like, they will show up in that screen of prisoners that are in your party, and then the prisoners that are in dungeons that you own. So very cool. I like the change. And with prisoners in mind, they have added prison break. So this is a big feature that was talked about in the development blog. And what this pretty much means is players can now break into enemy settlements to rescue clan and family members, vassals, and friendly and neutral lords. After approaching a guard with a bribe to let you into the dungeon, the prison break will begin. So that's how you start the mission. The sum of the bribe depends on the ransom value of the prisoner, security of the settlements, and roguery skill of the player. So there's 3 things that depend on that. If you have a high roguery, you're going to pay less. If the prisoner is not that high value, you're going to pay less. And if the security of the settlement is very low, you're going to pay less. Like that. And vice versa. And then in order to break out the prisoner successfully, both you and the prisoner must defeat all the guards within the dungeon without getting knocked out. Higher security and wall level will make the breakout harder, and having more guards stand in the way of you and your escape. So if they have a high security and they have a high wall level, just know there's going to be a lot of guards and it's going to be very difficult. So you better, have your best, focus and just overall abilities on whenever you do choose to do this, because it has some very big repercussions. So pretty much here they are. So should the prisoner get knocked out in the escape, you'll have to fight your way out alone to save yourself. Leaving the prisoner behind could result in him dying or being locked up behind bars. Should you get knocked out during the escape, you'll become a prisoner, or even worse, you can die. So this is a process that is very risky, very high rewardy, and I like it. It makes a lot of sense, and I think it's a good thing to add to the game. And I will be making a separate video showing off the whole process, so stay tuned for that as well. Next, we have this huge amount of quest changes and nerfs to specific quests. They're all on the screen right now. There's actually a ton of them. It would take a long time to go over, but if you want to pause it, if you're really into quests, I would suggest you check them out. And lastly, for single player, we have a lot of miscellaneous changes that you can pause and read. And again, very miscellaneous, very minor, but they're on the screen right now. Now, moving on to multiplayer. Not as much changes, but I think some good ones that people are going to like to see. First, they added 2 new siege maps. Domogtal Castle and Izar Stronghold. There it is. Very good to see. I know, multiplayer, all my multiplayer players out there, they always want to see more maps. There are more skirmish maps that are coming. Obviously, the dual mode is coming. The one life mode is coming as well, kind of like a search and destroy mode. Those are all coming in the near future, so be ready for those. Next we have is now we have various changes to maps already in rotation. There are changes. The changes are on the screen right now if you do wish to pause. So some good changes in my opinion. Then we have added a new option to disable network alert icons and added a visual representation to describe each icon. So more options, more usability for you to use. Then we have a confirmation pop-up now shows up while quitting a multiplayer game. So if you could quit a multiplayer game, kind of like how most multiplayer games do it, there will be a pop-up saying, are you sure you want to do this? There'll probably be like a 5-10 second wait, and then you can press it again if you do. Then we have added a mute/unmute all players button to the multiplayer scoreboard. Good thing to add, makes sense. Then we have added scores to the skirmish and captain game mode HUDs. So pretty much what this means is now you will be able to see it without actually going to the scoreboard. You will see the scores. Good. And then lastly, we have multiplayer bug fixes. You can pause if you wish to read them. There are a couple, and if you're really into multiplayer, I suggest reading them. Now, onto both. So first, they added the sound occlusion option. It's forced on in multiplayer and can be turned on and off in single player. So what this does is pretty much makes the sound more realistic. I don't know how else to explain that. So before this was not in the game, all sounds would sound the same regardless of how far they are, what they're in between and stuff of that nature. They just sounded very similar. And they would cut off obviously at a certain distance, but it would just be very similar sounds. With this option, you will pretty much have a lot of different sounds depending on a lot of different variables. How far away you are, exactly at what position. That let's say a person's like shooting an arrow, it's just like directional sound, if that kind of makes sense. I don't know the best way to explain it, but sound occlusion, you can Google it. There's some good videos out there on YouTube. Yeah, but it's an option that's in most games, so good to see it in this game as well. Then we have added a reset to default button to keybinds category in the game options. Good to see. So if your keybinds are all over the place, if you want to go back to the default, there's a button for it. Then we have official modules can now be enabled but not disabled through the launcher. This will address the issue where no modules would load. Players can now enable official modules from the launcher and open the game correctly. No more deleting the launcher data.xml file. I don't know exactly what this is for. Obviously, I think this is for mods, if I'm not mistaken. But I think this is supposed to make it so it's easier for mods, so you don't have to go into your files and delete anything. It will work through the launcher. So I think this is very good, in my opinion. I've not used it personally, but I think it's good. Now, we also received a lot of archer and throwing improvements, overall combat improvements, and nerfs that affect the player and troops. They're on the screen right now. There's, some minor changes, some kind of bigger changes, but, overall, just combat changes. And then lastly, we have, for modding, there are a lot of bug fixes and a lot of new functionalities that have been added. So, I have read previously on the forums that a lot of modding is broken currently, and if you want to make a big mod, it's kind of very hard because a lot of stuff breaks a lot of the times. So hopefully these bug fixes and other changes change like the whole modding thing for the better. And you guys let me know if it did change or if it didn't change and all of that. But that will do it for me. That is all the changes that are out there. Obviously, there's some minor changes you can check out by following the link down below. But lastly, I'm going to end this video in the same way I end most of my update and dev talk videos. I want to thank the developers for staying active and bringing good changes. Also, I have a video how you can revert your game to any other patch released or to the current one. Check the video down below. And also, if you are having crashes on startup after updating to a patch, I have another video with a solution down below. Also, I did start a Patreon. It's nothing crazy. I use it for basic support. There's no paywalling. It's just another way to support me, and I do appreciate if you check that out as well. Hopefully this video was informative, and like always, stay safe.